everyone, and welcome back to my art channel. So today we're going to be taking a look at real manganese blue and comparing it to Gamblin's manganese blue hue in oil paint. So if you follow pigments or art history or painting history or anything like that, you might know that manganese blue has become this almost legendary pigment with this legendary status. And the reason is it was used for many years by watercolorists and oil painters, especially watercolorists, but both they and oil painters used it. And it was known for being this clear, beautiful blue that, was just a staple on some artists' palettes. And the color, the manufacture of the pigment was discontinued in the 1980s. And as I've mentioned in several of my other videos, all of the pigments that artists use are created, they're not created for artists, they're created for industrial and commercial applications. So, car painting, house paints, all kind of, coloring plastics, all different kinds of things like that. Pigments are created for that, and then the artists are this tiny little sliver of the market. So whenever there's a commercial demand for a pigment goes away, or for whatever reason it's replaced by something else, it doesn't matter how much the artists love it and how much they squawk, it's going away. And one of the other recent colors that happened with was the original quinacridone gold, which is just an amazing color in watercolors. I stocked up on a few tubes of that, but that's going to be gone pretty soon. Anyway, so this manganese blue, the real thing, is Pigment Blue 33, was discontinued in the 80s. But I discovered recently that Vasari actually carries the original pigment in oil paint. They managed to get their hands on some stocks of real manganese blue. So I'm going to compare that to the substitute which Gamblin makes, which is manganese blue hue. Now the manganese blue hue from Gamblin is actually a variant of phthalo blue. It's Pigment Blue 15:4, which means it's phthalo blue shade 4. So, because it comes in different shades. So we're going to compare these two and see how they measure up. So this is the real thing, baby. So, and this is very expensive, so if you want to try some from Vasari, I'll just warn you ahead of time. This tube cost me $51. So it's not inexpensive. So, and you can, the original manganese blue was from the early 20th century. I believe it was discovered in 1907. And it lasted until the 80s, and then they stopped making it. So this is a little titanium white here, so let's just paint a little on this canvas sample. And I can see that it has like a really beautiful undertone, blue undertone to it, and it's a blue that leans toward green. So let's mix it with a little white and see what we get. So, and the thing that artists love this color for was making skies and water. And yeah, it's a really pretty color. But, and it does have that green leaning shade to it. So that is the genuine manganese blue, and I can see that it's very, it's a very pretty color. And let's try a little bit of glazing too. Got some liquid here. So we'll put a little bit of that out. It's probably way too much, but it is what it is. So that way I can put a glaze down and see. That probably needs some more pigment. So yeah, the glaze, it's fairly transparent. The genuine manganese blue is fairly transparent. And it does make a really pretty blue when you glaze with it like that. So let's compare that to the manganese blue hue, which is a particular shade of phthalo blue, and we'll see how it measures up. So, well, the Gamblin color right out of the tube is already a little, it's a little stiffer, but I'm not sure if that's a pigment due to the pigment itself, or that's just because Vasari, their paints might be ground with a little slightly different oil consistency, because I'm crossing brands here. So right out of the tube, the Gamblin Manganese Blue hue is a little stiffer. It doesn't brush out as easily. But it is very close in color, so I will give it that. And I can definitely tell the difference here in the tinting strength. The phthalo blue is, known for having a higher tinting strength, and that's already showing up here. So let's try and get this to the same. And what I can tell, and I don't know if this is going to come through on the camera, but when I'm looking at this in person, as with so many of the mineral colors, like the original genuine manganese blue, as with so many of those mineral colors, they do get like a little bit of a grayness to them. They lose some saturation when you mix them with white. And I can definitely see that on here. The manganese blue hue, the Gamblin color, which is, the phthalo blue, really a form of phthalo blue, is much more saturated in the... Okay, well, maybe not much more, but it's definitely more saturated in the tints than the genuine manganese blue is. So while the mass tone here and here, straight out of the tube, is almost identical, except for the phthalo blue being a little less oily, the tint outs on the genuine manganese side are definitely grayed just a little bit. They lose some of their saturation, whereas the phthalo blue is not. And so that, for the genuine manganese blue, I can see why that would be really good to have that quality to it, like if you were painting sky or water, because natural blues like skies do have a slight, desaturated quality to them, whereas, the phthalo blue just mixed with white for a sky or something might be a little too strong or a little too acidic in color, not quite natural looking. And that same thing comes across in the glaze. The manganese blue hue glaze is just ever so slightly more saturated than the genuine pigment in the glaze. I don't know if you can see that on camera. So the problem is I can see this on my monitor. The camera is making it look much more... it's taking the green out of the color. And it looks more like cobalt blue on the camera. But when you see these in person, they're actually a really pretty, like, greenish, turquoisey blue color. So I would say the two are very close. I would say Gamblin did an excellent job of recreating the manganese blue. But I can see that the manganese blue has some really beautiful qualities and undertones to it that do make it unique. So I can see why watercolorists and oil painters liked it and missed it, when they stopped making it. And it would definitely be very useful for landscapes and seascapes, because it does have that little bit of a desaturated note to it in the tint outs. So, but I have to give Gamblin credit for doing an excellent job because, like I said, these mass tone colors are nearly identical. And so anyway, so if you want to give the Vasari color a try, you can. But like I said, it does run about $50 for the small tube. So it is an investment. And I'm not sure this is a color that I would buy again and again and use regularly, because Vasari is going to run out of it eventually anyway. But I've always wanted to try it because it's attained this sort of mythical quality now that you can't get it anymore. So I know I will definitely at least use this tube in my landscape work. But the Gamblin Manganese Blue hue is definitely an excellent and worthwhile substitute. So I hope that you enjoyed this comparison video, and I will see you next time. Take care. Thanks so much for watching. Go ahead and click on that subscribe button so you won't miss the next video. And why not spread the joy? Be sure to share my videos on your favorite social media. Don't forget to head on over to my website, walcottfineart.com, where you can see my art, read my blog, or when you join my newsletter list, you can win free art. Every month, I'll choose a lucky winner for my email list, and that person will receive a mini original oil painting. There's a chance to win every month, so be sure to sign up today so you don't miss out. Plus, you'll get my fun newsletter. See you next time!